Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are going to try and make sense of the huge, sometimes confusing world of literary genres. We're going to build a kind of family tree for literature to see how everything, from ancient poems to the latest super niche sci-fi subgenre, is all connected. So yeah, let's dive right in.
You know that feeling, right? You walk into a bookstore, or let's be real, you're scrolling on your phone, and you are just hit by this absolute wall of categories. You've got your fantasy, your thrillers, historical romance, cozy mysteries. It can be a lot.
And it's not just a feeling. Get this, one of the biggest online booksellers has over 15,000 different categories for books. 15,000! That's not just a forest of books, my friends. That is a full-on genre jungle out there.
So that's the big question for today, isn't it? How did we get from just a handful of story types to this incredible explosion of choice? And more importantly, is there a simple way to see how it all fits together? Well, I'm here to tell you, there is. The best way to get a handle on all of this is to imagine all of literature as one giant family tree. It's this fantastic analogy that helps us see the deep roots, the main trunks, and all the thousands and thousands of branches and leaves that make up the world of stories.
Okay, so first things first, what is a genre anyway? Well, it's basically just a label. It's a way of categorizing a story based on things it has in common with other stories, like its style, its themes, certain plot points. For us, the readers, it's a shortcut. It sets our expectations for what kind of ride we're about to go on.
So here's how this whole family tree thing breaks down. The main trunks, the big, sturdy foundations, are the major literary forms: prose, poetry, and drama. Sprouting from those trunks are the main branches. These are the genres we all know, like science fiction or mystery. And then, every single individual book, every story, every play is just one leaf on that tree. See? Simple, right?
Now, to really understand this tree, we have to go back. I mean way, way back to its roots. Back to a time before books were even a thing.
And what's so cool is that literature is actually older than writing. Think about that. The very first form of literature was poetry. For thousands of years, storytellers used it to pass down stories from one generation to the next, completely orally. It makes sense, right? The rhythm and the rhyme just made these huge, sprawling tales way easier to memorize and perform.
And the biggest, baddest of these oral forms was the epic poem. We're talking about things like the Epic of Gilgamesh or Homer's Odyssey. These weren't just simple bedtime stories. They were these massive, foundational poems that defined entire cultures, telling tales of incredible heroes, meddling gods, and the very creation of their world.
So how did the tree grow from these ancient roots? Well, a few key moments really pushed it along. Around 335 BCE, the philosopher Aristotle got this idea to start categorizing literature, giving us our first formal definitions of things like tragedy and comedy. Then, you fast forward all the way to the 18th century. The printing press takes off, there's a growing middle class that's hungry for stories, and boom, the novel is born. This caused the prose trunk of our tree to just explode with new growth. And that brings us all the way to today, into the age of digital hybrids, where genres are mixing and matching in ways no one could have ever predicted.
So this really gets us to the two main trunks that grew from those ancient roots, prose and poetry. And you can think of it this way. Prose is the language we use every day. It's organized in sentences and paragraphs, and it's built for clarity, for telling a story from A to B. Poetry, on the other hand, is organized by line and stanza. It uses rhythm and meter to focus way more on musicality, mood, and pure emotion.
Okay, so we've got our main trunks. We've got prose, we've got poetry. But how in the world did we get from a few big branches to that jungle of 15,000 categories? Well, this is where the real explosion happens.
What happened is, over time, as our culture and our technology changed, those big branches of genre started sprouting smaller and smaller and smaller twigs. I mean, this happened everywhere, from all the different types of mystery novels to every flavor of romance you can possibly imagine. And to really see how specific this gets, let's just look at one fascinating branch: science fiction.
First up, you've got steampunk. This is a world that imagines steam power is king, but the tech is way more advanced than it ever was in real life. You know, think gleaming brass gears, complex clockwork, and steam-powered robots walking through a foggy, gaslit Victorian London.
Okay, now shift forward in time to the World War era. That's where you find dieselpunk. This one embraces the grit and chrome of the 1920s to the 40s. It's all about pulp adventure heroes, giant zeppelins, and this sort of grimy Art Deco future powered by the good old internal combustion engine.
Now jump ahead to the near future and you land in biopunk.
This isn't about machines, it's about the flesh itself. It tackles the really dark side of the biotech revolution. We're talking gene splicing, corporate-made plagues, and the huge question of what it even means to be human when you can edit your own DNA. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. On the complete flip side, you get the optimism of solar punk. This genre imagines a sustainable future where humanity, nature, and technology have finally figured out how to live in balance, all powered by green energy and community. See how each one just carves out its own totally unique little world?
And this is where you really see just how deep the rabbit hole goes. I mean, look at the science fiction branch alone. You've got twigs like space opera for those epic starship battles, and cyberpunk with its dark, rainy, high-tech futures. But then you get even more niche twigs, like atom punk, which is set in the atomic age, or, get this, manor punk, which is basically Jane Austen but with elves and magic. Every single one is a tiny, unique leaf on the exact same branch. It's wild.
So why do we have all these labels? Are they just for librarians or for marketing departments? Absolutely not. They actually serve a really, really important purpose for all of us.
I think the best way to think about them is with this idea that genres aren't rigid cages. They're more like regions on a map, but with open borders. You can move freely between them, and knowing what region you're in just helps you understand the landscape.
So in the end, genres are just a tool. For us as readers, they're a map. They help us find the kinds of stories we're in the mood for. And for writers, they offer a set of expectations and conventions, a framework that they can either build upon or, if they're really creative, purposefully break to make something totally new.
And this brings us to what is, for me, the most exciting part of this whole thing. Our literary family tree is not done. It is a living thing, and it's still growing, right now, as we speak. You just have to remember that genres aren't set in stone. They're just a set of conventions that change over time. As our world changes, we need new kinds of stories to help us make sense of it. What was once science fiction becomes today's reality, and our new hopes and fears give rise to entirely new genres.
And that leaves us with one final big question. In a world with generative AI, with interactive stories, with new kinds of media we haven't even dreamed of yet, what's going to be the next great story form? What new branch is about to sprout on this incredible family tree of literature? Now that is maybe the most exciting story of all.